When I play games, especially horror games, I always want the developers to take me on a journey to a completely different world. The more extraordinary or weird setting, the better for me. And I have one such game today with me, game with extraordinary setting. Ladies and gentlemen, say welcome to Daniel, the man behind the game called Limerick. Hi Daniel, how are you?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
I played the demo of your game, and you have pretty much everything there. You can shoot, you have puzzles, you have deep lore. But what really drew my attention was that setting. And I wanted to ask you, what were your main inspirations behind this unique world?
So it's a great question, and it's one I've given a lot of thought as we come into this. I guess what I'd say up front is there's no one particular game or one particular movie or whatever else that's been the direct inspiration, but there are definitely some things that have inspired it. I like really colorful stuff, which is obvious when you play Limerick, right? I like colorful things, and I like spooky things. Fall is one of my favorite times of the year. And while not intrinsically spooky, right, it's just all the leaves falling off, the shadows, I think that's all really cool. So that's part of it, is just that the natural world around us, right, is definitely an inspiration. But as far as games go, it's pretty clear that BioShock, Resident Evil, maybe a bit of Amnesia, maybe even some Bendy and the Ink Machine, right, in that's a very visually fantastic game. Overall, Limerick is its own unique, which of course I'd like to think that, right, that Limerick is its own unique world. But thinking about it, there's actually one game that I can point to that has had a big influence on my definition of kind of spooky atmospheric worlds. And we're going really old school here.
Okay.
Really old school. It's a game called The Colonel's Bequest. It was an old Sierra Online adventure. So we're talking 1989, right? Roberta Williams helmed it. Douglas Herring and Gerald Moore were the two artists on that team. And what's so cool to me about some of those older games, and The Colonel's Bequest in particular, they had a 16-color palette. That's all they've got. And so what they made were these very bright, very colorful, but very spooky kind of environments. And The Colonel's Bequest is similar because you're in a mansion, you're on this island, people are dying, you're trying to figure out who the murderer is. So again, I wouldn't say that it's exactly like that game, but that actually probably has had more influence, because when I think of spooky settings, because I played that game when I was a kid, and of course when you're a kid, everything scares you,
yeah.
if given the chance, right? So I remember thinking that game was pretty spooky when I was a kid, and looking at Limerick, I actually went back and looked at the screenshots from The Colonel's Bequest this morning, and I was like, you know what? I can see it. There's just some of that has made its way over. What I like about Limerick is that it's definitely can be very spooky, and there are some sequences in particular that are going to be quite spooky and hopefully a little bit terrifying even. But
the one in the cage, I remember.
But there's a beauty to the world of Limerick. There's lots of colors, lots of lighting, and I love that. That's my favorite thing to do, is putting the environments together and making those environments that can be a little bit unsettling, but also have their own serene beauty to them. You can play the demo. I'm going to be leaving it up all the way up to release and after is the plan. If you enjoy action, that action horror mix, like you talked about, puzzles, this is totally something that I think will be right up your alley. It's a challenging game. It will probably at times frustrate you a bit, but it's that way by design, hopefully, so that you'll walk away, you'll come back 3 hours later, and you'll get it, and you'll get that feeling of satisfaction. That's what the game's all about.